For today's guest now, though, and it's been almost 10 years since she found herself at the heart of an astonishing true story that gripped the nation. To the outside world, Victoria and Emil Cilliers were a happy couple that live life to the fullest. But on Easter Sunday 2015, life changed forever for Victoria. A skydiving jump organised by her husband went disastrously wrong when her main and reserve parachutes failed to deploy. But this was no accident. Known now as one of the most unusual crimes in legal history, in 2018, Emil was sentenced to 18 years imprisonment for the attempted murder of his wife. Please welcome Vicky Cilliers. Vicky, thank you so much for being here. We all remember that news story. It was extraordinary, it was shocking, and to think you're here to tell the tale is the most extraordinary part of this. It was back in 2010, wasn't it, if I can take you back then, to this whirlwind romance. And that's how this relationship began with Emil. Can you remember those early moments?
Yes, and I'd come out of a marriage. And I got to the point, sort of early to mid-30s, I was like, well, I'm now divorced, I've got no kids, and not quite knowing where life was going to go. And then suddenly this guy just almost came out of nowhere, and it was a bit like a love bomb. He just promised me pretty much everything that I wanted. And it just felt like the fairy tale. It felt like I was getting the happy ending.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
It was all lovely. On paper, it was amazing, and
yeah, I thought I got my happy ending.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
Did you have any suspicions that he wasn't 100% as billed? You know, that there might have been something else going on?
I think in the early days, no. I think the first red flag was when he denied all his children, who he didn't tell me, and I thought that's quite a big thing to sort of miss out. There's a few little things, but I think I wanted the end stage, and I think I just chose to listen to what he said and progress on. I didn't really pay a huge amount of attention.
He sort of made you feel like that as well, Vicky, because you mentioned having been married before, and you'd obviously sort of trust issues throughout that time. So every time you would come up with something between yourselves, you go, this is your fault. This is how you feel because of what you've been through. So you sort of, a lot of people, it'll resonate with people. You carry on, don't you? Because you think, well, maybe it is me.
Especially after you were married and there started being some signs I thought he might be having an affair. But every time I brought it up, he'd turn it round so that I was the one that ended up apologising to him and he'd blame it on my past relationship. And so I always ended up saying sorry.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of an uneasy period, certainly, and you were certainly feeling a little bit suspicious. And he organised a skydive for you, something that might be unusual to the rest of us. It's not to you at all. No. It was a real passion of yours. You're a senior skydiving instructor. It's a love. So you actually thought this was a nice thing for him to do. For a moment, you thought he's doing something quite positive here. So you were excited about this moment.
Sort of a lift in our relationship. He maybe wants to pursue more of a future, because I'd got to the point where I'd had enough of the relationship and of the marriage. I thought, oh, actually, maybe all's not lost. You know, he wants to do something together. He's actually thinking of me for a change.
Why don't you describe going up, because I don't think any of us have tried skydiving, and it's something that I can't quite get my head around. You're up in the plane and you simply jump out.
And it was certainly that time, it was mixed emotions, just very aware. It'd been a long day, it'd been on and off the plane several times, and it got to the point where actually I just want to go home. My body's telling me that, and actually I don't want to be here. So it was a bit mixed emotions in the plane. I was actually crying and didn't want to go out, and I was the last person out the aircraft in the end. But initially, in that first moment, when you step out, it just felt right. It felt good. Pull the parachute. It wasn't what I expected. But again, I wasn't overly concerned because I've had malfunctions before. It's just part and parcel of it.
So the main parachute didn't...
It wasn't viable. It did open, but it wasn't controllable.
Right.
So I had to get rid of it and deploy the reserve. But again, it's something you're trained to do. It's fairly standard practice. But the minute I deployed the reserve, I knew instantly there was something very wrong. Because it should just be there and everything slows down and it's calm, but it wasn't. I was spinning.
But your training, of course, Vicky, kicks in. I mean, we would literally all be free-falling, but you did click into this trained mode where you're trying to untangle, you're thinking this is a terrible accident, you have to try and fix it, you're thinking this can't be my day, I have to make my way through this. But they didn't open, neither of those parachutes opened.
No.
And remarkably, you hit the ground, Vicky, which when people were watching this on the ground, they actually arrived to you with a body bag because no one thought you were going to survive this. And you did. And you put a lot of that down to where you landed, as well as your training.
Yeah, I think it was a mix of things, a combination of luck, trying to slow it down as much as I could. But actually, when you're spinning, that generates a bit of lift, so that probably slowed things down. A ploughed field. It was just, I suppose, a catalogue of a few things that made it work.
Was there a moment during that you thought, this is it, I'm going to die?
No.
So you never thought, this is the end
You don't
for
have
me?
time.
Wow. Incredible.
So you woke up, you're in hospital. You never suspected your husband at that stage because I remember reading about the first trial and you were quite an unwilling witness, it seems to me. You didn't want to believe that your husband was involved.
That was part of it. And it's a big step going from suspecting someone's been cheating on you to murdering you.
Yes.
You're married and you've got 2 children together. But also fear. You know, if what the police were telling me is correct and he tried twice to kill me, if I stand up in court and speak out against him, I had no idea, despite asking people how long, or what sort of sentence that would attract. If he's just going to be given a couple of years in prison and then I'm the one that put him there, what's going to happen to me?
So
I didn't want
the
to
police
speak out.
came to you with evidence of your husband's double life, as it were.
Yes, they had evidence of his double life, but very little evidence towards the attempted murder. They kept their cards very close to their chest, so it was quite hard for me to understand what was going on. For about 2 or 3 years, I was kept in a bit like a black hole. I had no idea what was going on. I had no control. I just kept getting told, oh, in another few months, we'll have a decision whether or not we're going to court. And that went on for years.
But then you found out that he'd actually tried to kill you before the parachute jump.
Yes.
By interfering with the gas supply to your house.
Yes. And I told the police about that, because they just asked about anything slightly out of the ordinary. I hadn't put 2 and 2 together at all at that point.
Well, you wouldn't. I mean, it's an extraordinary leap, isn't it, into this ridiculously scary world of thinking that your husband indeed is capable of it.
Sorry, can I ask you a quick question? What injuries did you sustain?
I broke my pelvis quite badly, my back, lots of ribs, and a few minor internal injuries.
So you were in hospital for quite a while, I would assume.
Like 2.5 weeks. At least my training came in as a physio. I was like, right, I'm going to get myself home.
You knew what to do, exactly. Well, you wriggled your toes and your fingers straight away, didn't you, just to check that they could
the safety
move.
check.
So straight away, you were in the zone. He was found guilty of 2 counts of attempted murder, sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 18 years and is currently serving his sentence in Staffordshire. It was a moment where I hope, Vicky, and for you and your family, that you could in some way move on. You thought that a door has closed here. You were feeling safer, I hope, and you felt like there was a second chapter to be had in life now, but you're at a point now where you do feel happy and that you have moved on.
And I think the judge's sentencing was a pivotal moment because that's when I found out a little bit more about everything that had gone on, and after a few months that sort of really sunk in. And yeah, it's taken a few years, but yes, coming out the other side.
Yeah. And you say that having found love again as well, Vicky, which I know, I understand you would be tentative and you're cautious about that, but this person is someone that was involved in the parachuting world, was there the day, in fact, your attempted murder happened it's someone that you didn't have to explain your life to, which I'm sure there was a shorthand naturally amongst the two of you.
Yes. And I had sort of tentatively tried dating a little bit, but it just becomes too much when you try and explain your own circumstances. I thought, I can't. I thought maybe I'm destined not to meet someone. And it happened fairly organically. And yeah, it was just a relief not to have to explain everything.
Yeah.
But I thought, why should my past dictate my future?
Vicky, like we say, it was one of those monumental stories, wasn't it? I mean, we all remembered it. We were hearing it in the news that this can't be real. And it was your reality, and here you are now, thankfully, all these years later, a different person, Vicky. So honestly, congratulations with everything. Send our love to the family, and good luck with everything. Good luck with everything. It's lovely to see you.